What's up, fam? Welcome to an unorthodox niche night here on A2D Radio.com. It's Birds of a Feather swapping with lazy booking this week, guys, because it's NFL opening night. Chiefs and Texans coming at you in about 40 minutes or so. I am Chrome here with my regular co-host, Pete Evans, here with us. Chucks is in for, we don't know how long, but he's here for a while, guys, and he's got a little special guest with us here.
It's all up to him how long I stay. I'll be in and out, but it's
congratulations. Congratulations, Dad and Mom over there. Handsome little guy with all that hair. Grayson making his A2D debut here. And we also have Tori joining us. Tori, man, in the Twitter, getting over here on our show tonight. What's going on, Tori?
Nothing. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And, of course, we have Ryan Brodo on the ones and twos. Guys, looking like it's going to be there's going to be a lot to talk about, a lot of excitement going on right now for the NFL kickoff show today. And, obviously, right now they got Alicia Keys performing. But for us, listen, we have a lot of business to take care of. This is our Philadelphia Eagles season preview show here on Birds of a Feather. Shout out to our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey. And find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Also, Ambuck Services. Michael Ambrose has a great business over there. You need gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any kind of outside work you need. Hit them up. It's ambuckservices.com. Phone number will be dropped in the comment section. Call Michael. Let him know that we sent you. You're going to get 20% off all your outside work need. Check them out. Shout out to our boys, Philly Drinkers. Alex over there doing a great job. Getting ready to drop the fall line of A2D merch. I got the A2D shirt here. The whatchamacall? I forget what it's called. Excuse me. Whatever fit. It's a stretch fit. I don't know what it's called. Dry fit. There we go. I couldn't think of the word. Thank you, Tori. Needed somebody to be there to pick me up, and these two were just sitting back like the bums they are.
Well, listen, I don't fit in dry fit, so it's
Pete's like, I don't even know what that means. FWO, brother.
That's all I care about.
But check them out, phillydrinkers.com. Lots of great stuff over there. They have a lot of the summer line that's out there. It's going to stay up. The shorts are amazing. The shirts, get a lazy booking shirt, get a agree to disagree shirt, the fix, AM and the PM, Birds of a Feather. All the shows on this station, Weekly Roundup, Sports Hounds, everybody. Hockey Happy Hour, which will be coming at you later tonight at 10 p.m. Check them out, phillydrinkers.com. Our topic of conversation brought to you by, and there's the link right there to get directly to the A2D merch. Topic of conversation is brought to you by QB54. It's the best tailgating game in the business, and it's a football tailgate, guys. You got to check it out. PlayQB54.com. Promo code A2D is going to get you 20% off there. Check them out. PlayQB54.com. Carson Wentz is the key for the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC East title. Agree, disagree. Lots to talk about. So on the docket tonight, we're gonna preview the season. We've had some news drop today that we should probably address right off the bat, but we're gonna go through a lot of different things here, guys. We have our 3 breakout or standout stars that we're predicting for the year. 3 people who are in important years this year that they have to step up, as well as an offensive and defensive MVP of the team. We're also going to talk about our championship game predictions and our 3 bold predictions around the league. Already got here, Brian Daly. Congrats, Chuck's proud new papa. We got a lot of the congrats Chuck stuff coming in here. There you go, Lil Chucks, let's go. And he really does look like a mini Chucks. It's amazing. But guys, let's kind of jump into it. Let's get first things first. 2 big things I think that dropped over the last 24 hours or so. Obviously, Jason Peters gets a raise, slight raise, not a big deal. In hindsight, I think compared to what we were thinking when he said he wanted to get paid more, to me, it's a drop in the bucket, not a big deal. And also the Zach Ertz news. That Zach Ertz doesn't know if the Philadelphia Eagles want him. And I think that, we had Tom, who, if you haven't checked it out, he dropped his Crumb of the Day video earlier. talking a lot about the Zach Ertz situation. So check that out, as well as all of our A2D content across all of our social platforms. But I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that. We're going to go around the horn. We're going to start with Chuck's here.
Yeah, I like the move. I had said before when they were talking about Jason Peters wanting a raise, I said, well, it would be fair just to give him a redo his contract so it's very incentive based. Make him earn that pay raise. And essentially that's what they did. They guaranteed what was it, $1 million dollars more than what he had before, and then they said, okay, we'll raise it to potentially $8 million based on incentives. And I think that's fine. Like, you let him produce and earn that stuff. And so I think that it's a great move. I mean, they tried to make him work at right guard and then see because apparently he was doing well there. And then they wanted to see if any of the other guys could, do well at left tackle so they wouldn't have to move him back. But ultimately, Matt Pryor he's not a left tackle. Mailata, I don't know what's going on there, but maybe he's still not ready, which is understandable. You kind of want to see him. You kind of want to see him be ready to know what he is either this year or next, going in his third and fourth year. But if he's not ready, he's not ready. So the choices at left tackle were slim to none. You had to have Jason Peters go in there. So being able to move him to left tackle and then being able to pay him by making him earn it, I think it's a win-win. Everyone's happy. I have no problems with it. I think it's a good move, and it doesn't break the bank. And then kudos to Lane for taking that pay cut, restructuring his contract in order for Jason Peters. So kudos to him. I think it's just a win-win all around.
Pete?
Poll question, real quick. Yes and no. His health, yes. I think the O-line is bigger, and what we see out of there, if we get some stability out of the O-line. In retrospect to the news for JP, I like it. As Chuck's already explained, the incentive-based deal is the way to go. It gives him the urgency to want to play. He can't just sit back and be content. And he knows it's maybe next to either his last year or next to his last year, because the team really didn't have any plans to bring him back and took Brandon Brooks going down the second or third time he tore his Achilles. I forget.
Second time.
I think it's the second time, yeah.
Second time.
So, they were ready to take a guy who came back off of one Achilles. Like, they really didn't have you in the shuffle. But it makes sense. It gives him some incentive, not only just financially, but he may be playing for a job next year. If the Eagles don't bring it back. So depending on how he does this year, he may get another team. It really wasn't a lot of teams this year that he was on the taking for. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm gonna let it go around again, because if we come back to the Zach Ertz thing, I'm probably gonna have a different spin on it than everybody else.
Okay.
Oh, of course.
So I will give it to the lady of the night, the lady of the lake, Tori.
So the poll question I agree with. It's probably going to sound silly to say this, but how often does a team succeed with a backup quarterback? I know we have before, but what are the chances it's going to happen again?
But I was in a small window, though, so you're right.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not, and it's definitely not going to happen to us again. It already happened to us, I think, we definitely need Carson Wentz there. Jason Peters, I guess with the restructuring, I'm okay with a little bit more money and the incentive base, but I just don't like the fact that he was, I don't know. I don't like the fact that he was asking for more money. That just shows to me, like, you don't care. Maybe you care about your team, but you are more worried about the money, which I get, but I feel like the fans and me personally like the players that want to help the team no matter what, and it doesn't seem like that from him just requesting more money. And then Ertz, that's asinine to me. Like, that pissed me off. It reminds me now of the sign JT thing. Like, now we just are going to get rid of all these players that all of our teams need. Don't even get me started on Zach Ertz, but yeah. Matt.
Yeah, for the poll question, I agree. I think you need Carson to play 16 games this year. I think it's so crucial in a year, and we're gonna talk about it a lot. We've talked about it on a lot of the shows on A2D over the last week or last couple of weeks. I think we all agree that this division is going to be a race to 10. I don't think we get to 10 without Carson behind center. So I don't care who's in front of him. I think that there's enough there that I wouldn't worry so much about the offensive line as I would just having Carson stay healthy. So I'm going to agree to the poll. I think he is absolutely the key to this football team. I think your franchise quarterback is almost always the key to your football team. In terms of the rest, I had no problem with what Zach Ertz said. Maybe I'm in the minority because I know we have this, we want to see honesty out of guys, but then when they give us honesty, we get pissed off at them because it's not the right time or it's this or it's that. Bottom line is he's clearly very engaged in wanting to be here and something's not getting done. And when I look at the situation and I look at the front office and the track record, in this instance, I'm going to side more with the player than I am with the front office because this front office has, and I know Tom harped on this a lot last night on the Fix and the PM crossover show there. And I know they talked a lot about how there has been or maybe it was Brian. It might have been Ryan. I know a lot of them were talking about last night. The lies that we've heard from this front office or the deception that's come from this front office in terms of what the offseason goals were. I think it was more Ryan who was talking about it. Now, I applaud Howie for making certain moves, going out and getting Slay and Hargrave, Robbie Coleman, and some of these other moves that he's made. I like Vinny Curry coming back. It's a depth piece, but I think you needed that. However, you got to take care of your own guys. In terms of Jason Peters, I think my initial, oh, crap, what do we got going on here? I'm thinking this guy's going to want a pretty big pay raise from what he was getting. And I think that's where my concern came in. But, when you look at what you're getting with him, what was it? I think it was $3 million. The initial deal was what? $3 million with another $3 million incentive somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Now it's basically another $1 million guaranteed with $4 million in incentive. So, it's $1 million more guaranteed with $1 million more in incentives. I'm fine with that. I have no problem with that. If you look, I think he finished somewhere around 6th or 7th in terms of in terms of tackles last year in the NFL. In his position, he was 6th. I think it was Pro Football Focus or one of them had him ranked as the 6th best tackle last year, and that's a huge deal for me. I think that when you look at what's out there, Chuck, you harped on that a lot. You were kind of left with, in a rock and a hard place. And I don't really think he really put you in a hard place to cough up an extra $1 million guarantee. To me, honestly, with what's out there, he could have asked for more money. So I'm fine with it. He's not breaking the bank like he used to in his prime. Give the guy the money and let's appreciate that he's willing to be flexible at this point in his life. Let's not forget that he was willing to come back and play in a position he's never played at his age with the injury history he has, when he really didn't need to do that. So I give him the benefit of the doubt because I give him the credit.
He really wasn't going anywhere else, though.
But I don't think he needed to, though. I don't know. I don't think he necessarily needed to.
I think
he would have.
Cleveland had interest in him, and he was deciding between Cleveland and us, and he decided us.
Yeah, and honestly, if this guy decided, if he didn't get the deal he wanted, I think he's content with sitting out and not playing anymore. He's made a ton of money. He's won a Super Bowl at this point. He's a Hall of Famer. I think the fact that the opportunity was there for the Eagles, I think, was what intrigued him to come back. So I give him that. We got to give him credit for that too, guys. I mean, that's a big move to make.
I agree.
At his age, and I to throw him an extra $1 million in guarantees and an extra $1 million in incentives, small price to pay to get him where we need him to be to get this team moving forward. So, Chucks, we didn't get your poll question answer, so let's get that. Do you agree or disagree? Carson Wentz is the key to an NFC East title for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I would agree, but I would say it's not so much as play. I want to emphasize because I think we all know what, in terms of talent and in terms of performance, what he brings to the table. I think we all agree on that he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in the whole league. Whether you have him top 3, top 5, top 7, whatever, he's still a great talent at the quarterback position. That goes without saying. And with this league being a quarterback-driven league, we all know that the quarterback's always going to be the most important position for any team. However, I want to focus on his health. And I think you all just pretty much, harped on it, but I agree to the poll if you're talking about Carson's health. That is the key. I mean, I'm not going to ding him for getting concussed by a cheap shot in the playoffs from Clowney. That doesn't, and it's great that he was able to get through a whole year, without getting hurt. And I love that. He's got to do it again. And then he's got to make sure that this whole stigma that he has is this rep that he's an injury-prone quarterback made out of glass. He's got to do whatever he can to get rid of that. And one of the only ways he's going to do that is just by staying available for the whole year. And by the whole year, I also mean the postseason as well. So I agree to the poll. He is the key. It's more so his health, because I think we all agree that his performance is there. We already know his talent. In terms of the Ertz thing, I agree with you, Chrome. I think I commented on your post when you shared Tom's video. Like, I had no problem with what Ertz said. He was asked the question and he was honest about it. I've stuck with the stance that in terms of Ertz, I would not pay him Kittle money, George Kittle money, or anything like $15 million for 5 years, whatever. It's too long. Like, he's into his 30s now, and even though he's still elite and in his prime, he's going to start hitting that downward slope. So you can't commit massive top tier tight end money to him. However, I am still okay with giving him another 2-year extension, giving him around $12 million a year, give or take. And $12.
Breaking the bank.
I think that's fair. I think that's right around his ballpark. And if you give him that 2-year extension, around $12 million average a year, and guarantee however much you want to guarantee out of it, I think that's a fair price. Well, in terms of his quotes today, I have no problem with it. I believe him when he says he wants to be here for the rest of his career, and that, of course he's going to be frustrated, but there's no doubt in my mind that he won't play out. He won't still give it his all this season. He's not going to be, grumpy and everything. He's going to play to the best of his abilities and give it his all. And
yeah, I agree, Chuck. I agree with that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, I just want to clarify. I'm not mad at Ertz for what he said. I'm mad at our front office.
Of course,
for pushing him to say, I'm not mad at Ertz at all.
Yeah, I was confused when you first started speaking, but then when you brought up JT, I knew you were taking the other stance. So I was with you.
Sure.
I want to go back. I want to go back to that last comment that was up there in with Dallas and bringing up Dallas Goddard. Can you bring that comment back up for me? Julio Vargas, what's up, Julio? Says we can't re-sign Ertz if it means Goddard walks. My question is, why not? Because Dallas Goddard, although we know the potential that's there, it still hasn't. I mean, we've only seen scratches on the surface, and maybe this is a good time to transition into some of our lists that we came up with. Or no, not a good time, Pete?
I knew it was coming.
Not a good time, Pete? Maybe it is. All right, you know what? I want to get into that because I think that's a great question. But first, or a great point. Bill says, I agree. I was crucified last year when I said that this was coming with Ertz. Now it's a lose-lose because we're forced to pay up now. Kobe Bryant Jr., 24, says, do any of you think that Carson's going to be MVP candidate? If he stays healthy, of course, because that's my prediction. We could just kind of go quick around there. Yeah, I think if Carson's healthy, he has the potential to be a top 5 MVP candidate any year. Ray Krause giving a shout-out to Torrey. You know what? Before we get in, because there was another point that Chuck's made that I actually think really kind of fell into the one list that we were going to come out with, is people who need to have big years this year for one reason or another, whether it's a coach or a player. But I do want to give Pete a chance, but I'm going to read Andy's biography down here first. Andy writes, what's up, fam? Papa Chucks is in the building. Heel Chrome's going to bring the heat. FWO OG Pete is ready to lay down the law, and the fabulous story is here to keep them all in check and keep this crazy train rocking and rolling. And then you got the one and only Ryan Brodo at the helm. Should be a good night tonight. Appreciate that, Andy. Andy from In This Very Ring, which you can catch on Saturday nights here on A2D Radio with Butters, or as Greg would call it, the Butters Show. And I'm sure Andy's gonna love that. Pete, let's get the train back around to you, buddy. I want to hear your opinion on the Zach Ertz situation.
So let me preface this by saying this has nothing to do with Zach Ertz's talent.
This is the same thing you say every time you make a Zach Ertz point.
Sure.
The only thing I wouldn't do, I would try to find a way to get these last 2 years to give him more money. I would not extend him because him and Goddard are both up in 2022. That's my thing. Get his. I'm not extending him. It's time. Secondly, the reason why Julio said you said both. If Goddard walks, why can't they do both? Is because the other the contracts that they have to put them in this position in the first place.
I didn't say do both. I didn't say do both.
I thought you said why can't you do both? If you said if Goddard
that's not what I said. That's not no. I didn't.
Okay.
What I said in response to him is why can we not extend Ertz because Goddard walks? At this point, if Dallas Goddard is who we've seen to this point, I have no problem with letting Dallas Goddard work and extending Zach Ertz. That was my point. Is since when did Dallas Goddard become an untouchable on this team? It's
let me
more
speak
my
to
point.
that. Let me speak to that too as well. At what point, when you had a top 3 tight end and you draft another tight end, that second tight end behind him take the place of the top tight end? Kittle came up for a reason because they had no fucking tight end before him. Kelsey came up for a reason because they had no tight end before him. It's hard for Goddard to do that with the simple side. He has to go out there and make magic for people to forget about Zach Ertz. And that's all courtesy to Ertz and his talent and his ability. The other point I want to harp on as well, we sit here and we say the front office is looking bad. It's true. But what else can the front office do as it use? I'm not taking anything away from Ertz. I'm not saying I disagree with what he said. But the player has all of it to put out there to the public. What can the Eagles come out and say now? They can't, and he knows that. And ultimately, really, it comes down to if a person wants you to give you an extension, you want to raise that worth. And somebody asks you, do you feel as if you're worth more? And that number could be not the number that you want, and then that makes it feel like they don't want you anymore. Not to say that they don't, but you see what I'm saying? Like, how easy is it for Zach Ertz to come out like looking like new money in this situation because he knows the Eagles can't say anything. He knows they can't. And ultimately, it comes down to the number. If we offer Zach Ertz a 3-year extension, 2 years, $30 million guaranteed, perfect, boom. He stays the extra year. That extra year is a dead year. He gets his $30 million guaranteed. That's his 15 average per. Just like George Kittle money. Am I right or wrong? Everybody walks away happy. Because I'm looking at his contract now, and I'm honestly, we talked about this before. I said this last year, and Middlebrook was I don't say he agreed with me, but it was on the same point. We're getting to the point where you're going to pay Zach Ertz. He wants to be paid like he's a second-tier wide receiver. And on this team, and the reason why he is so important and why we had this track record and why Zach Ertz has this nostalgia in our mind is because for the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, our wide receivers have sucked. So we had no choice but to rely on Zach Ertz because guess what? Ultimately, he was the best skill position player we had on the team. Am I right, Chuck?
What, back then? Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So I'm interested to see in this year, this is a big year for him too because we paid Brandon Graham. We paid Jason Peters numerous times when he should have been gone. You see what I'm saying? And now this is going to sound crazy. I'd rather had not done that so we could pay Zach Ertz because I really truly believe
I agree.
Zach Ertz deserves it more. It's just no fault of his, but that's where on the front office, if you want to lay it down like that, where the front office, the decisions that they made with those contracts to other players, let's give it to them because they deserve it. Zach Ertz deserves it the most. It just sucks now because the timing, they may not be able to do it.
See, so I don't disagree with you on your point, Pete, that I would probably, in hindsight, have rather seen the money allocated this way. Now, Julio down here says, Goddard may not be Ertz, but he's solid and young. With all the young receivers we drafted, we could be going away with 2 tight end sets. I look at our wide receiving core and see a very aged wide receiving core at this point right now. I mean, I know there's some youth in there, but really right now I'm only looking at Rieger as a guy who I am 100% confident myself that he's gonna be one of those young guys. Greg Ward might be a third or fourth guy, but I don't see this crazy amount of youth in the wide receiving core that I can confidently say, oh, we wouldn't miss Zach Ertz, because we got to remember we have all these weapons now, but Alshon's going to be coming off at some point. We don't know when, but at some point he's going to be gone. Deshaun is, in all likelihood, Deshaun's gone after this year. So that's two big hits and two guys who are established talents and weapons that you would expect to have. Now you're still going to have, other options, and it may not be specifically wide receiver. You're going to have Miles Sanders in the passing game, possibly Boston Scott in the passing game. So there are other creative ways that this offense can move, but I don't see this crazy, in terms of that comment, I don't see this crazy wide receiving talent that I can say with 100% confidence, that I can say with 100% confidence that, okay, if he goes, we have tons of young talent that we wouldn't even miss that weapon there. I totally disagree with that point.
True, but I would counter to that by saying the people that you did mention that you did have confidence in, they can't stay healthy.
And Tom brought up JJ too. Tom, he became so minuscule last year. I actually forgot about him. Which what? I'll take that back, because I do think he has a bounce back year, and I'll mention that now, considering I don't think that's not one of my bold predictions. So I maybe it's one of yours. I actually do think he has a bounce back year this year. We'll get into that in a few minutes. I look at him as a guy who, we're not going to have Jordan Matthews we expected, but what we actually got with Jordan Matthews and not having that production in the number one spot, I think is going to be very good for this football team.
So let me ask you a
Brian
question.
says, Chrome, you better put some respect on John Hightower's name.
So Jalen makes the team, obviously. Hightower makes the team. Quez Watkins makes the team. So you have more younger receivers that outnumber the age veteran receivers.
Yeah.
So do you think that's Chrome? This is specifically to you. Do you take that as I don't have faith in them because they're young, or you don't take faith in that because you haven't seen them do it yet? Because if you're basing it off of the latter, I don't know what would ever make you want to move on for somebody that's not proven.
So
No. Okay. No, I'm not saying these guys can't do it. I'm playing by numbers, right? We're not talking about these guys who are all high draft picks, right? So when you look at it, it's almost like the minor league system in baseball, right? These guys could be highly touted, and you listen, anybody that's drafted in the NFL draft is a very talented player. Right. Doesn't matter. Or even guys who are undrafted free agents. Like, I don't take away from their talent, but in terms of the NFL level, and the same thing with MLB, the odds game, the numbers game, it's very rare that you hit on just about all of those. Right. So if I'm looking at Jalen Reagor's a guy I expect to hit on, great. If we're looking at two or three other of these young guys that are there, whether they're on a practice squad now or they're in the back end of the depth chart, maybe one I would expect could work out and have a decent role in this team. And I think JJ bounces back, but I'm not confident in that.
So if that's the case, so that means that gives you Jalen and JJ. Those are your two. Those are your two outside. All you need is Hightower.
I like Hightower. So I mean,
I like him. But I gotta see it.
So here's the thing. This is why, like, in terms of future options, when you talk about like whether you're going to be able to sign both Goddard and Ertz or not, a lot of that depends on what we see this year from these young guys. A lot of it does, and I'm not going to commit one way or another right now because you have to see how this year plays out. Like, agreed. We all know about how I feel about Reagor. It's on the video, the live, the draft live reaction video. We all know I'm a Reagor stan. All right. Yeah. So we all know about that. But I would also, and Brodo liked him too. I like John Hightower, and he's had an awesome camp. JJ Arcega-Whiteside has had an awesome camp, looking like the guy that we drafted. And I was high on J-Jaw the year before. So I agree that they're not proven yet. Like, they have to go out and show that they can do it in an actual football. But it's not like there's no youth on this team. So
Agreed.
you have to see how that plays out. Now, depending on how that plays out, if you're still deprived of young talent at wide receiver, then you have to look at signing both, and it's very possible because look at these contracts; they're all rookie contracts. J-Jaw, Rager, Hightower, and even if you want to include Quez, rookie contracts, correct? So they are what, like 3-4 years, 4 years long. I think Rager has a 5th-year option. If you were to say my scenario, you add 2 years onto Ertz's contract, give him a 2-year extension. That's 4 years down the line. His contract ends when these rookie contracts end. Therefore, you have a perfect transition. Oh boy, you have a perfect transition going from the
transition
signing them to that second contract. And then Ertz's contract ending, and then same thing for Goddard. So, and Pete, you know this. When they look at this total salary cap, they look at percentages of what you're allocating to the roster, right? Like defensive line has to have this percentage allocated. Quarterback has this percentage of the salary cap allocated, blah, blah, blah. If the rookies are not making that much in the salary cap, you have to look at the tight ends and be like, you can take some of the money you would normally, give wide receivers, big money that you give wide receivers, and allocate that to the tight ends for the next 2 to 3 years. It's very possible. It's still possible, and I'll let him cry it out. But I don't think it's out of this world to think that you can't have that.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
But I agree. I agree with a lot of what Chuck said there, by the way,
right.
In terms of, again, I'm not saying there's no youth on this team, but to me, to make a statement that there's so much youth here that we can let a Zach Ertz walk. Like, we're not talking like Zach Ertz is an older guy. We're talking about, Deshaun and Ashawn are guys that are going to walk. Somebody's got to fill their roles. So we're going to have to hope that 2 of these guys can step up and fill those roles. And we're still going to have openings on this football team. The way this offense works, they spread the football out. You need as many weapons at skill positions as you could possibly have on this football team. And I agree with what Chuck is saying in terms of, and I didn't even think of it even from that perspective, Chuck, you're spot on. We have the fortune of a lot of guys on rookie contracts for the next 3 years or so that you can allocate those funds elsewhere. And then, you know what? If Howie's still with this team, and I expected he would be, guess what? When the time comes up and there's some money issues, guess who always finds a way to work the cap and finds little places that money's stashed to get it done? Howie.
Yeah. Two things. Sharif, we've been past that. Right now, you can't ask that question and look at the 2017 draft. That question should already been answered based on the 2017 draft. So second, once again, I want to preface by saying I'm not saying let Ertz walk. All I'm simply saying is he has 2 years left. Yeah. It's not like this is he has 2021 and 21 through 22. He wants to get paid. Give him a 3-year extension or restructure 3 years, a year, give him a year extension, give him $30 million guaranteed. That's $15 million each year for the next 2 years. Then in that 3rd year, by the time you get to that, by that time you'll see what Goddard is or not, or maybe you go a different direction. Because at some point, we see Ted Powell, he said that, hey, he's your main guy. That's going to trend off somewhere. His role in the offense and how key in his production is going to drop off. Father Time is undefeated. So I would rather pay him now where I still think he has that level of play in him in the next 2 years. Let's look at that 3rd year and then let's come back from there. Because you see, JP, when he was at his prime, he was getting paid like hand over fist. And then he had that one tweener year. You can see a very similar arc with Zach Ertz. That's all I'm saying. I'm not, once again, want to say I'm not against it at all. I'm not against giving. I'm against giving him 4 years, 5 years, $40 million with 30, like some astronomical number. I don't think we need that. That's me.
So quick point I want to make here. They have the pre-show going on right now. Weird seeing fans in the stands.
Yes.
B, not seeing a whole lot of social distancing in terms of the fans in the stands. I thought they would have been more spread out. So that's kind of weird. The upper level seems to be, but the lower level is not.
There's 17,000 there. But see, this is the thing. I don't know. We don't know how Kansas City did it where they could have sat there and had people buying groups that they felt comfortable with. You could just have a large amount of groups.
But
Yeah,
like
I
I'm
think it's
looking at
by groups.
look at the
Oh yeah.
well how I don't know, man. I mean that they're showing
The lower bowl,
almost whole sections full. I doubt that almost that entire section everybody knows everybody, man. It's
it
weird.
looks like groups
And now-
of 4.
And now this is what I was talking about, right? That intangible thing, right? So we're not controlling our environment. We have fans around the entrance area that they come out where, in my opinion, nobody should be sitting around that area
At all.
specifically. And they're hanging over the railing taking selfies less than 6 feet away from the players. I want to
But they
finish the
have masks
goddamn
on.
season, guys. No, not all of them. Not all of them. Some got a beer in one hand and the phone with the mask under their neck.
Oh. I thought you weren't going to be allowed to drink in the stadium.
Right, you saw that the very first shot. You see a guy with his mask down drinking a beer.
Oh,
Just saying. I mean,
that's
this is
going to
why
end
we have
tonight.
where a live reaction comes in. You know, this is going to be an interesting thing to see how it plays out. Let's get into our list, guys. Let's dive into some of the topics that we had here specifically. And what I'd like to hear from everybody first, and we're going to go reverse, and we're going to go to Tori to kick this one off. Tori, I want to hear from you who your 3 standout players on this football team are going to be this year.
So my number 1, everyone's going to make fun of me because I'm such a homer on Boston Scott. Just because I feel like, okay, yes. So we have Miles, who's injured right now. Clement's injured. I don't even know our 4th running back's name. So I feel like a lot is going to rely on Boston Scott. And I'm also rooting for him too. So that's like the breakout star kind of thing. I'm rooting for him too to succeed. Last year he was kind of like the star in a couple games, and for those games he was the complete star. So I'm just excited to see what he can do with a whole season. I guess he's running back too. I don't know, but I feel like they'll do a lot of plays for him. Number 2, I got Dallas Goddard. He's a stud. I think he's not a proven player, but I want to say he's almost there. He's definitely not a flop. He's a good player. So I got him, breakout star number 2. And then I got Jalen Mills at his new position. Just because I feel like I also have him on my list of if he doesn't do good, he's going to lose his job kind of thing. So I feel like he has to be a breakout star at that position.
You must be in my head because I added him to both of my lists.
Really?
As well.
Okay.
That's a great call, though.
Because I feel like he has to succeed there, basically.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my 3 breakout stars I got.
I don't disagree with any of those.
No.
I think Boston Scott is definitely going to. He's going to have to be that guy behind that handcuff to Miles. And you're right. We saw a lot of flashes of what he can do, where I didn't think he had the opportunity in New Orleans. And I think once he was given that opportunity last year, I'm not a Corey Clement guy. I love the guy for what we got in the Super Bowl year, but I think me and Chuck's, back in the days of this show when, we were kind of kicking this thing off, after the Super Bowl year, we kind of saw, I think Corey Clement is just the guy. I think he's a good player. A 3rd or 4th back maybe if he can ever stay on the football field at this point. But he's nothing special. I think we got the best. We got his ceiling already in 2017. So I think you're spot on with Boston Scott. Dallas Goddard's another good one. I'll give my opinions on Jaylen when we get there. We'll go to Pete, and then we'll start reacting. Oh, go ahead.
Corey was just added to the injured list today, right?
Yep.
Or yesterday?
He was. Yep.
So what even happened to him now? Like that's.
I don't know.
I want to love the guy.
He started thinking about football and he got hurt.
Yeah, broke his ankle or something. Yeah, I want to love the guy. Sucks.
I will always love him for what we got out of that Super Bowl year, but I think he's just the guy. Pete, what do you got for us?
So real quick, let me address the shit stirrer back here in the background. Take number 3 out of there. It's over and done with. He's gone. He's out of here.
Oh, right, Pete.
Don't do it. We got it. Let's stay on track. It's open tonight.
Is that your boy?
we could revisit
Sidney
that.
Jones.
What happened?
Now you
What?
Oh, okay. Well, he sucked. He can't stay healthy. He couldn't prove himself.
Man.
I will admit I was wrong. I was wrong in the eyes of the Philadelphia Eagles front office. They did not have as high hopes on him as I did. They shared Drew and Chrome's opinion, and I was wrong.
Pete, I'm going to stick up for you because I don't think you were wrong. I think we both said he's got to prove himself this year, and he didn't. He didn't stay healthy. He didn't prove that he could be relied on. And what was supposed to be a competition was never a competition for that CB2 spot because he was hurt again. And so, we had said, this is his year to really prove himself, and he didn't. He didn't step up. And even though you're talking about not even getting on the field, being reliable enough to stay healthy and get on the field is part of that. You have to be available. So, I don't think you were wrong. I think we were all on the same track that, hey, this is the make or break year for Sidney. And if he can't do it, he can't do it. And apparently he didn't do it. And so I have no problem with it, with him getting released. So I'm going to stick up for you, Pete, because I think that people want to jump on both of me and you, especially you when it comes to Sidney, for misconstrued and twisted quotes. But I knew exactly what you were saying when you said it.
That's right, Grayson. That's right, nephew. You talk that talk. Don't let him talk about that.
Even Grayson's had enough of hearing Sidney Jones. He hasn't even been in the world that long, and he's already sick of hearing Sidney Jones' name. Let me tell you something, all right? I said this on the Fix and the PM a couple weeks ago when they were giving their predictions, and I'm going to repeat my prediction on Sidney Jones. Sidney Jones will finally play a full season, and it will be in the XFL when that relaunches.
Wow.
And two, I'm not taking a shot at Pete or Chuck's. And to Chrome's point, a couple weeks ago when we were giving predictions, one of my bold predictions, and Tori, you were on the show, you can attest to it. It was that Sidney Jones would not make the roster, and I got ripped to shreds. Well, guess what? A day later, bye-bye.
Ryan, it's amazing. And I will echo your feelings on that, Ryan, because I dealt with the same stuff last year over Nelson Aguilar when I was begging for Greg Ward to take his spot last year. Right. And everybody, Chuck's included, said to me, what has Greg Ward done to prove that he deserves that spot? And I said, I don't know. I've seen a couple preseasons where he's looked pretty good, and they haven't given him the chance out of preseason to even come in week one and make a difference. I would rather have given him a shot. And, in the end, I got destroyed for weeks. And not even just on my show, on others. So I could feel your pain on that, Ryan. You were absolutely right. I had your back on that. Anyway, Pete, let's get your three, buddy.
So my three breakout stars. One is going to shock you. They'll go with the first. Two are going to shock you. Seriously. Okay. First one is JJ. I think JJ has a bounce back year to solidify himself as an outside corner on this spot. I think by the end of this season, we have our number one and number two outside receivers.
Let's go.
JJ, he can only go up. And to find out last year that he really wasn't healthy, he came back and he still got hurt. And now this year, his head is clear. I'm not big on the whole training camp talk, but camp, as short as it was, didn't really have any lapses. Did things that he wasn't doing last year. Look, he got a little bit not faster, but a little bit stronger, a little bit more sure of himself. So that's my number. That's my number one. This is no order. This is just three. My number two, because who we just talked about, he who should not be named, is no longer here. I truly believe that Avonte Maddox showed them something.
You stole my guy.
and to solidify himself as a corner two, a second corner, maybe a fringe corner one. It's very rare to have a shutdown corner, but let's not kid ourselves here. We're going to have Darius Slay at his prime, maybe for 1 or 2, hopefully 3 years, and we need him to step up.
Yep.
I need that, and I believe he could be a breakout star because, the guy he's replacing, who's now playing safety, didn't leave a lot there to have to prove at the second cornerback position to be in Jaylen Mills. That's just my thought. or Ronald Darby. So he doesn't have, but he could be a breakout star in regards to how the Eagles view them. And then my third star, I know this is going to sound really crazy. I don't know where this is coming from, but I feel it deep down inside. Okay. I'm going to go here. Derek Barnett. Because you know why I do this? Because I feel like yes, Ryan. I don't know where it came from. It just hit me all of them. If I put him on this pedestal, I'm trusting you, Derek. My fanhood and my likeness towards you does not come lightly. It's not an easy thing for me to do.
I hope that it happens. And I hope that we can pull this clip and everything that you said a couple weeks ago and piece it together and have the story of the romance story of Pete Evans and Derek Barnett from that point on to how it evolves throughout the season. We will make a video of this, please. We must do this. But I listen. I love it. I love all yours. I don't disagree with any of them. I think, too, to your point in terms of Avonte Maddox. Oh, geez. No, it's not Greg Malakovic. If this was Mush Steppy Malakovic, I'd be more worried about Ryan.
Mushy.
But you know what, Pete? I have to say this. We should finally have our number one cornerback solidified. So, taking that pressure off the table, unless somehow, knock on wood, it doesn't work out, which we have seen here before. I don't think that's going to be the issue with Darius Slay. I think a lot of pressure is off this secondary, a lot of these guys trying to figure out who's going to step up in that number one role. No, we got that guy now. He's established. Everybody needs to be around that, and let's have who's going to be our number two guy, who's going to be our slot guy, who's going to support. We know who the number one guy is, who's going to – now you know every week who is going to be assigned the number one wide receiver on the other team.
Right.
Fill it in after that. So I think that's huge, and I agree with you. I think Avonte Maddox is going to have a big year this year. Chucks?
All right. So, so Pete stole my guy, Avonte Maddox. He also mentioned, like, an honorable mention I had of J-Jaw, and it's funny you bring him up because I was listening to, our guys over at Inside the Birds podcast. They had Greg Cosell on the other day, and Cosell was talking about our wide receivers, and I even posted a clip about J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and it's a reminder that when it comes to wide receivers, the transition from wide receiver from college to pros, it's very difficult, and so to write off a rookie wide receiver just because he had one bad year, his rookie year, it's silly and it's foolish. Like, you have to be patient when it comes to wide receivers in this league. So everyone that, was ready to write him off as already a bust, like, I think they're going to kind of backtrack on their words because I think that he's going to have a good year. I don't, I'm not saying he's going to have like 1,000 yards receiving or anything. I think our offense is too spread out for him to do that. I think if you 100 yards with like a whole bunch of touchdowns, like 8 touchdowns, that's a great sophomore year for J-Jaw because if he's making like, great catches here and there, pivotal catches in games, that we'll gladly take that because that's what we need from him. So he was like my honorable mention, but the other two I had, because like I said, Pete stole my Avonte Maddox one. I had Josh Sweat, and you guys know I love Josh Sweat, and he's been tearing it up at training camp, and I've been saying like it's only a matter of time until he makes noise. Now, the only thing holding him back is that knee, because that knee they have to monitor it, so that might limit his reps. So he might not overtake Barnett in terms of snaps. Snap counts. He might always be like a little bit behind Barnett. Barnett will always get first team reps or whatnot. But that second rotation, or in terms of all rotations, I think Sweat's going to see a lot. I think Sweat, you're going to finally see a guy who's bringing his athletic ability, his physical ability, and marrying it with the nuances of the position. He's going to be able to bring that all together And so he's my other guy, my second guy. And then my last guy, of course, is obvious, is Miles Sanders. I think that's an easy one. It's an obvious one. But we always talk about a lot of people are high on Miles Sanders, so there's not much I have to say about him. But those are my three: Miles, Josh Sweat, and Avonte Maddox.
Yeah, not bad. I like all those. I think that everybody is kind of come up with some young names here that we definitely need to step up this year, and I think will. I'm going to throw mine in. For me, I have an honorable mention on one as well because I have to throw in Derek Barnett here. I didn't throw him in just because I think I gave enough of a Derek Barnett opinion over the last few weeks that I think everybody knows that I expect. If you watch this show before, you would know that I expect big things from Derek Barnett this year. I expect what we saw in 2018 for the first handful of games, 6 or 7 games I think he played before he got hurt. I expect that same guy, maybe even a little bit more with a little more fire in his belly. So my three are, I have Jalen Reagor this year. This is the contract year that Deshaun walks. I think we've already seen the toughness with this. We were talking about we may not see this kid till week 3 or week 4. He's going to be active pending one final test tonight for Sunday's game. Shows the toughness that this kid's ready to go. And we're about to have our opening kickoff, or did we have it? We had it already.
We had it.
Season's going. So I expect really big things this year because I think this kid has the potential to step in next year as your number 1 wide receiver. So I expect a big year for him. Number 2, I have Greg Ward as a standout on this football team. I think Greg Ward, we all know the contributions last year when he had to step into essentially a number 1 wide receiving role. There's a guy who was passed by opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, but I felt like he earned a look on the regular season roster numerous times prior to that. And he stepped up, and I think his rapport built with Carson is going to be very big this year, particularly with a healthy Deshaun on the field, hopefully a healthy Alshon on the field, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goddard stepping up this year. I think that he's a guy who Carson now has faith in and has slipped under the radar because he's not the sexiest name at the skill positions on this team. And I think that he can be a guy that could have a sneaky big year for this team. So I am for me, I got to go with Greg Ward and Jayla Mills. Jayla Mills, I think, will thrive in this role. We've always talked about the issue with Jaylen is getting beat over the top. But when he can keep a guy in front of him, he's physical. He's good with the man coverage. It's when he gets burned over top. I think that he's going to thrive in this role. I think a lot of us thought with his physicality and heart and energy that he plays with that he would be much more suited to the safety position. So this hybrid that they're going to be working with him, I think is going to be very, very strong, and I expect big things. And I talked about this before. We're talking about going out and get a Robbie Coleman and a Darius Slay and a Hargrave. Sometimes the best acquisitions you make are the ones that you don't make. And when you look at if he works out in this role, how pivotal this could be for this football team to have been able to fill a need without having to go outside of the organization and to maximize a player's skills for a guy who I think there were some question marks for. That's a huge addition to this football team. So I expect a big year from Jalen Mills. So we're going to any reactions to any of those before we move on to the next one?
No. The Greg Ward was shocking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, the Greg Ward, because we talked about Ertz, we talked about Peters, we talked about Fletcher Cox. We've not talked about him in depth with Fletcher Cox, but mentioned. But we're in that transitional period because we know we have Carson in this window, right? And now it feels like, okay, he came in as a young pup, right? We win the chip. He kind of takes us there. He gets hurt. The freak accident once again. And now he's slowly starting to become that leader. And then, so it's kind of like that rotating door. Veterans coming in, those are going out, and then he's going to be the veteran. So you need these younger guys to start to solidify themselves to say, hey, okay, this is that next wave. almost similar to. I feel like what you can have with Carson's career is very a similar arc to what you see with Russell Wilson. That's the quote where Russell wasn't the man, came in, did what he had to do, and now he's there. But now you have a whole nother set of characters. Obviously, the one standard is Bobby Wagner there, but it's kind of the same thing, and we need that. So I hope everybody that we name, out of the 12 players, maybe 11, because I think me and Chuck shared one with Maddox. I hope all them bitches hit, because if they all hit, guess what? You know what I mean? We're in a very
right there, without question.
You're in a very, very good spot. Very good spot.
Listen, I think overall, because me and Tori shared Jaylen, I think we shared a couple. I think overall, let's just say we threw out 8 or 9 names, right? If we can get 6 of those names to have the years that we expect for them to have, this football team is in a very good position going forward. Right. And I'm not talking about regress years. Some of these other guys may just have decent years, but we're talking about these people having breakout career years or, emerging years for some of these young guys where they start to hit the map. I think that's boding very well for this football team. I'm going to kick off the next list. So the next one is kind of on the flip side. Who are 3 people that this is a crucial season for? And again, this could be players or coaches. I'm going to kick it off. Again, much like Tori, who kind of spoiled one already, I also have Jalen Mills on this list because if this doesn't work out, it's time to move on from the Green Goblin. And I love Jaylen. We love his effort. We love his physicality. But this should maximize those skills. And if at this point that's not working, it's time to move on, and we have to find someone who can fill in those positions. So I absolutely think this is a make or break year for Jaylen. The other one is Dallas Goddard for a lot of reasons, and I think we talked about a lot of them earlier. We're sitting here talking about, can we let Ertz walk in this? Well, guess what? If Dallas Goddard doesn't step up this year, absolutely not. We cannot let Zach Ertz walk. Because I agree with you, Pete, and we talked about this before. If there's a consideration of moving Zach Ertz to get value for him, it's got to be after this year. So if he's going to be expendable in any way, it's only if Dallas Goddard can emerge and take that next step. I don't think we can afford to sit back and wait for 2 or 3 more years of Dallas Goddard to continue to develop. I personally don't think that Zach Ertz is a hindrance to his development at this point. And I think that they will see what they have this year for Dallas Goddard. I think there will be opportunities for him, and it's going to be on him to step up. I love Dallas. I don't want him going anywhere. Wish we'd keep both of them forever and have a 2-headed monster at tight end. But it's probably not realistic. But, if we're going to move Ertz and we're going to look for an asset back for him after this year, if we can't extend him, because I don't think there's any way he stays here through the end of his contract. I don't think that's going to happen. So either he moves after this year or they extend him. That's going to be very dependent on what Dallas Goddard does this year. And then obviously number 3, it's an obvious one, but I think we need to harp on it again. Carson Wentz needs to be on the field for 16 games. And I also want to kind of piggyback off of some of the things you guys had sort of touched on earlier in that, Carson has that stigma still hanging over his head of the injury history. Regardless of if it was a dirty hit, it was last year in the playoffs that took him out because of the previous issues. And again, I think that the stigma on him is unwarranted in this fashion. People hold against him the issue he had his rookie year when he got hurt in preseason. Right. They still bring that up, but guess what? He played all 16 games that year. So to me, that issue was not. What's that? No, I thought.
I think that was my phone. Sorry. No, sorry.
I was like somebody else.
I thought Ryan was chiming in here. He played all 16 games that year. So to me, when I talk about the injury history, I take that out of the equation. That's like a guy having a slight sprain of an ankle and he's good to go in 2 weeks before the season starts. Not a big deal. He did have the major injury the Super Bowl year, but he also carried us through a lot of that season. He secured us home field advantage, which was so crucial for us in that playoff run. The following year, he could have played through that injury, and that's what people forget. Because you had the luxury of a Nick Foles, you don't risk your franchise quarterback. If they don't need to put him on the field, you don't put him on the field. That was the difference. Matt Stafford had the same injury. Matt Stafford played through a lot of discomfort, but he played through it. But that's because they didn't have a suitable backup quarterback to step in for Matt Stafford. So that's people who don't understand. They go with what the popular commentary is, oh, he's got this injury history. Well, I don't necessarily hold that against him. Now, if we were talking about, what's his name, Sudfeld stepping in at that point, then I'd be concerned that the injury was a little bit more. But just kind of knowing the history of what that actual injury is and what that means. Oh, it's a discomfort that a player plays with. Now, however, could he take a hit and that could make that aggravate that worse and become a bigger issue? Sure. So what do? You're a young franchise guy. You don't throw him out there. You don't need to. You have Nick Foles to go out there. So I don't really hold that against them. And then last year, I don't really hold that against him either. I thought that was a dirty, cheap shot, bullshit hit that he took. So, there's a lot of things, a lot of factors in there with Carson's injury history that I think people forget because the lazy narrative that's the Skip Baylesses of the world, and screw that guy, by the way. And I want to make sure we touch on that. Yeah. I will, in this instance, I will defend a Dallas Cowboy for that absolutely inappropriate, insane comments. We'll touch on that towards the end of the show, but no, I just that's the narrative that those type of guys, the hot take guys who try to stir up controversy, put out there, the Colin Cowards and all those different guys like that. But yes, and very, very important. This team does not succeed without Carson, and that stigma will not go away if Carson can't put together back-to-back 16-game seasons. So, Carson Wentz. So, let's go down to Tori here. Go ahead, Tori.
All right. So, as I said before, I have Jayla Mills. And like you said also, he can't play safety, then we really have nowhere on our team for him. Second is Greg Ward, because it was so hard to get him on our team, even though, like you said last year, he deserves a shot. I agreed with you, too. So it just seems like somewhere in the system, they don't believe in Greg Ward fully. And if we have a bunch of people breaking out at wide receiver, we have the draft again coming up next year. If Greg Ward doesn't progress, or even, I feel like last season he did good. If he doesn't put up like he did last season, I feel like they could easily walk away from him because they didn't want to give him the chance anyway. So I feel like he needs to have a decent season or above average season to keep his job, unfortunately, because I'm a big fan of him too. Then I have Ashawn Jeffrey, kind of for similar reasons. Everything we've been through with him, it's like the age is up there. I don't see the rapport with him and Carson anymore either. The whole Josina Anderson thing, we still don't even know if it was Ashawn or not. I feel like there's just so much on Ashawn's shoulders that if he doesn't have a great season this season, I see us, and I heard it was already in the talks about trading him, but I see this season, and I don't even know how much longer he has left on his contract, but if he doesn't shine, we're done with him.
I think he got, a 5-year extension after the Super Bowl year? Am I right about that?
Okay.
Ashawn?
So
Awesome.
Jeffrey. So this will be 3.
Yes.
Now I don't know what the guarantee is. I mean that may that's something I don't know off the top of my head. So that could make a difference. In the NFL, guys get a 5-year extension, but really it's like a 3-year. It's like the extension that Deshaun got. I think he got last year plus a 2-year extension, but the actuality is the guarantee, I believe, is done after this year, which is why they cut paid after this year, because there will be no cap hit for him. So I don't know. I don't know the terms totally of Alshon's contract to know when we technically cut bait with him, but I don't think it's anytime soon. I think we got at least another year or two to go roll with this. And I agree with that. Greg Ward, what I will say is I do believe that he made the organization believers in him, which is why he forced himself to have an opportunity this year and found a spot on this football team. And I think that his quarterback has his back because he
100%.
stepped up when they needed somebody last year. He was the guy that stepped in and said, "Hey, I'll step in and take this role," and he succeeded. He made big catches for them at critical times in the game to win football games last year. So I would agree in that. I would sort of agree with him in that. I think he needs to have similar production. But I don't know that it's necessarily a make or break, because I think that we're going to have a couple guys coming off of this football. This team's going to look a lot different next year, and I think that he's going to be a cheaper asset for this team to keep around and keep at a certain competitive level. So
I hope so. I'm rooting for him.
Me too.
Yeah.
We got Pete.
So just real quick on Jeffrey's contract, it's next year. His cap hit this year, his dead cap was $26 million. They would have cut him.
Okay.
Next year, it's $10.6 million. So it's still up there in dead cap if they cut him. So
yeah, that's what I thought. I know at least this year and next year, it's a big hit. You can't just dump them. Now, the following year, I'm not sure what his cap hit is. I think that could be a better situation for them, depending on how they allocate funds the rest of the way around through the team, which we know it's going to look very different in the next year or two. So,
right. All right. So for me, when we talk about just stars that need to really, or players that really need to solidify themselves, and I was going to say, like, I see Anthony Adis' comment that Jaylen Mills, he's playing safety as his natural position at LSU. So we're not saying, I don't think that Torrey and Chrome are coming from the standpoint that we want him to do better. We don't know if he can play. It's important because, one, of he's changing positions that we've seen, and two, who he's replacing. Let's not forget who he's replacing. He's replacing Malcolm Jenkins, who maybe arguably is an all-time great Eagle. I mean, to me, he already is. It's just up there. I mean,
100%. 100%.
You know what I mean? So that's some hard shoes to fill. But to my list, I'm going to give you one that's probably off kilter that we haven't talked about.
Real quick, before you do that too, just to respond to that as well. If Anthony, we have said on this show, myself and Chuck's, particularly Pete knows for the year he's been on with us, and even prior to that, me and Chuck's have been harping for this guy to step into this, and Ryan knows on the back end here. We have been harping to have Jaylen Mills step into the safety position for the last 2 years. Right. I am 100% confident, which is why I have him on my list for having a big year, and also why Torrey has him on the list for having a big year, because we believe that that's where he should have been playing all along, and to maximize his efforts. However, knowing he has a pedigree there, knowing his skill set does suit that position more, or a hybrid involving that, if it fails, he has no place on this football team going forward, I believe. I believe that there will be other there has to be a point where we need to see Jaylen get to that, find a more solidified spot and get to that next level. And that's the point we were making. There's no doubt across this entire panel on here and the producer in the background that we believe Jaylen Mills can step into this role and should thrive. Yes. So go ahead, Pete. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure I cleared that part up too.
Yeah, perfectly fine. So, well, number one, I'm looking at players that are in a contract year, and that means something to this team. We don't have a direct replacement behind. So my first one, and we talked about, and we echoed the theme of Carson's health throughout this whole show. And he's gotten hurt when he had a good offensive line. And this is probably the most controversial offensive line that he's had going into a season. I need Isaac Seumalo to solidify the left guard position. So that way I'm looking at least at that side, him and Kelsey, and I don't have to worry. Because, and hopefully JP can give us something. So if you're looking at that side, because we're going, I don't care how hard Matt Pryor plays, we're going to be concerned more about the right side of the line, especially with Lane Johnson and his ankle. That's just a given. Two, for me, was one of Chuck's breakout stars, and I hope he is, and that's Josh Sweat. And the reason I say that is because Brandon Graham this is his 10th year in the league. You had to bring back Vinnie Curry a second time for depth. I understand what happened with Vinnie Curry, and I think it was his half brother that passed away. So he kind of put everything on hold, and condolences to him and his family. So, but I need somebody. I need Sweat to solidify himself, maybe to step into a starter role. And third, anybody that could play fucking linebacker. I just need one of you some bitches to do something. So that way you could be a starter, and I don't have to worry about it because Jim Schwartz minimizes it as much as it is. Harry Rosen, he doesn't believe in it. I need T.J. Edwards. What's Davion Taylor, the kid we drafted, the 3rd-round pick, who some say was a reach, was an athletic freak. The kid from Temple, Sean Bradley. I just need one of you to be a breakout star. That's it. That's all I care about. Just one, because we need that moving forward, no matter how much they want to look at it, especially not so much to come up and make the tackles, but to be able to come up and cover something, because there's a lot of crisscrossing, a lot of crossing patterns throughout the middle, especially defense with these offensive concepts now. I'm going to give you an honorable mention, and let me know what you guys think about this. Honorable mention is Fletcher Cox. It's his ninth year in the league. He's about to hit 30. The same things we were saying about Ertz.
I would agree, but I don't know that. I don't know that there's a replacement. I don't think it's. See, I'm looking at some guys right now who I think more so have somebody knocking on the doorstep to take their spot. I don't see that right now with Fletcher, so I don't think the pressure's necessarily there. I will tell you though, we definitely need more production from Fletcher Cox this year. He needs to get to the quarterback more. He needs to create more pressure. I think that he has had some real up and down years as of late. So I'm more than half in on Fletcher, but I'm not all the way there. If that makes sense. Okay.
No,
just because I would put him. I would sign off as an honorable mention because it's a fair point to at least mention it. I just don't think he's as much on a hot seat as anybody else. What do you think, Tori?
I think he definitely needs to do better, but yeah, I don't think he's on the hot seat at all. But A for effort for throwing a different name out there.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, it's something to get because we forget about it. And
I didn't realize he was in the league 9 years too. So he's right behind BJ. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, BG was 2010. I don't even know who the first round pick was in 2011.
Because everyone talks about how old BG is, but you don't hear that about Fletcher too much, or as much.
Was 2011? Was that the Danny? What's his name? Danny Watkins.
Danny Watkins. I think it was 20. Yeah, I think it was 2011, or maybe it was 2010. I'll tell you right now.
Because let me see. Don't tell me. Yeah, I think 10 was BG. I'm gonna just write it down the first round picks. I think 10 was BG. 11 was Watkins, 12 was Cox, 13 was Lane Johnson, 14 was Marcus Smith, 15 Nelson Aguilar, 16 Carson, 17. Who was 17? Was that Derek Barnett? 18, no first round pick. No. Yeah. So I forget. Okay, I'm done. I got like
Danny Watkins was.
Almost got it all though.
He was 2011.
Okay.
I didn't know he was actually drafted in the CFL in 2010, though. He's the 4th overall pick in 2010 of the CFL draft.
A fireman.
That's insane.
I think. In Canada, of all places.
Played 2 years with the Eagles and 1 year with the Dolphins. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that one. That's.
So wait, who was our 2018 first round pick then?
We didn't have one.
We didn't have one?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had it. We had one, and guess who ended up being it? Lamar Jackson, MVP.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
They traded to Baltimore.
Okay.
No, so 17, we technically didn't have one. I remember that. And then the Sam Bradford shit happened, and that's where we end up getting Derek Barnett at 14.
So let me ask you guys. Do you have let me get your defensive MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
I got Darius Slay.
Darius Slay.
Yeah.
I second that.
I'm so sick of like learning about camp and practice. Like I just want to see a game and be able to give an opinion based on what I see in a game. So it's so hard. But just what I've heard, Darius Slay, and just because we need a player to show up in that position so bad that I'm putting it all on him.
Yeah, I would. It is a tricky year, 2020. It's a fickle lady, I'll tell you. Trying to kind of, we're used to being able to get a feel for things by watching preseason. None of that this year, and everything is basically by what you're reading. It's people's opinions and what you're reading. You can't formulate your own opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's tough. Pete, you agree with that one? Is that yours as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the first ones that came to my mind. Close second, though. Close second. Just because, once again, of what he means, I'm going to fly, and he's a leader. I'm going to say Rodney McLeod.
I like Rodney. I think Rodney plays a really pivotal role in this football team, both on the field and in terms of his veteran leadership. And I think he could be a big key factor for this defense. Chucks, welcome back.
Yep, sorry, baby.
That's
baby
okay,
stuff.
buddy.
So that's going to be me for the next few weeks, in and out.
That's okay,
for next
buddy.
few years.
Years.
So Chucks, we can go back if you want, but right now, let's
no, you don't
do the
have to.
MVPs first.
I heard you guys are doing defensive MVPs.
Okay, yeah. So we have our defensive MVP for the Philadelphia Eagles. I was calling the Philadelphia football team when it's friggin' Washington.
Wow.
For the Philadelphia Eagles this year.
I like Tori's pick. She had a very good pick. I think that's probably the favorite, I'd say. So if I'm going to go outside of that, I'm going to go to another corner. I'm going to say, and you guys already know about Maddox, but I think that nickel Robbie Coleman is going to be a real stud in the slot for us. You remember how big of an acquisition Patrick Robinson was, especially out of nowhere back in 2017. He played a pivotal role in that defense, making several big plays. And with nickel Robbie Coleman, he is. I mean, we talk about like Avonte Maddox being short. Robbie Coleman's like 5'7", 5'8", but man, he's strong and quick as a cat. Maybe one of the quickest corners in the whole league, and he's the only guy in camp that reportedly has been being able to man up with Deshaun Jackson, giving him giving him a run for his money. So, Robbie Coleman, I've been a huge fan of for a long time. Love that we got him on a cheap deal. And I think he's going to quietly be a big playmaker for us this year, next to Slay. So I really like our corners. It's been years since we've been able to say that. Having starting three corners that are really, really this talented. With Slay, Maddox, and then Robbie Coleman in the slot. I think Robbie Coleman's going to have several big plays for us this year. So he's another one I'd go to. And then on the defensive line, I think Cox is going to have a bounce back year. I heard you guys mention how he has to step up because he had a down year last year. I completely agree. I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but I'd say that the spotlight is on him to really bounce back, and I think he does. I think he reestablishes himself as one of the premier defensive linemen, not just interior, but just defensive linemen throughout in the whole league. So I would go for, outside of Slay, I'd go with Robbie Coleman and go with Cox.
Anthony Adis, he chimed in. He says that he thinks that Kavon Wallace will be an MVP because he believes Jalen Mills will be injured.
That's no bueno. No bueno.
I don't establish an MVP by predicting an injury. By the way, I think that's weird. But I do think Kavon Wallace will be a good player on this football team. So I know that's Ryan's boy in the back. Although Ryan dropped in, he said Brandon Graham. So I think BG's another big one. I'm going to continue to ride this horse because I really believe it. I'm going Derek Barnett, guys. I think Derek Barnett, and this is one of my bold predictions for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. I think Derek Barnett leads this football team in sacks. I think that he will lead this football team in sacks.
I would welcome it. I would welcome it.
I think that we are going to get a healthy version of the 2018 Derek Barnett that we started to see the flashes of towards the end of 2017 and in 2018. And I believe that that's the guy we're going to get a bounce back year from him this year. I think he will prove his first round draft worthiness.
This is now the Derek Barnett show.
I am going to ride the Derek Barnett train all the way to the end. And I actually, that's not really my full bold prediction, but I do have a bold prediction for Derek Barnett as well. But I'm going Derek Barnett all the way. And I think it's going to start at that defensive line. Let's go over now to our offensive MVP. And I'm going to go reverse now. We're going to go reverse this way. Here we go. We're going to go to Chuck's. Chuck's, who is your Philadelphia Eagles offensive MVP of 2020? I knew it was coming. Who didn't know that was coming?
That wouldn't change. God dang.
I like to roll around.
I was worrying this earlier.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's Sanders. I mean, if the Eagles, I think, we already know, we stated Wentz's importance, but I think that if this offense is really going to be one of the best offenses, Sanders has to be to Wentz what Westbrook was to Donovan McNabb. The offense has to start filtering in, and what Sanders has to make huge plays for this offense, both in the air and on the ground.
I hope so, Ryan. I hope so.
Oh, my Lord.
Ryan's saying 1,850 yards and 12 TDs.
He said year.
Don't let that typo slide, sir.
Oh, did he say years? I didn't even say
1,850 years. Are we talking about?
He will never retire. He will never retire.
You talked about bold predictions, Chrome. I'll just say now, just in case I don't get a chance to later. I think my bold prediction. Well, I don't know if it's a bold prediction, but I think Sanders gets 2,000 yards from scrimmage this year plus. I think he
with that.
Yeah, and I'll even go further. I say, I mean, this hasn't been done, and can't remember the last time it was done, but I say it goes 1,000 and 1,000. 1,000 yards rushing, 1,000 yards receiving.
I can see that.
No. Listen, you need to worry about who's talking for your team on national TV. That's what you need to talk about. That's what you need to
get your boy.
Get your boy.
Yeah.
Get your boy Skip.
Boy,
Skip.
Yeah, how about that?
I'll tell you what, Harlem, though, and we mentioned it earlier. I think what Skip Bayless had to say about your quarterback was an absolute disgrace.
That's pathetic.
And I 100% back Dak Prescott in that, and I think we all do here. Yeah. So we'll give you – that's about all you're going to get from us, Harlem, and we're going to talk about it a little later towards the end of the show here specifically. But no, Chucks, I don't think that's crazy. I could see that. I could see that very easily, actually. So especially knowing that Doug is going to have him as a featured number one back and not do that, that rotation that we're used to seeing, I think it could very easily happen. Pete, who you got?
So offensive MVP. See, Chucks took Miles. Can't go Carson.
Sure you can. I am.
The same one, right? Yeah.
Now Carson's my bold
different?
Carson's my bold prediction though. Carson's my bold prediction. So, I guess if he's my bold prediction, I guess he technically would be my offensive MVP. I'm gonna go co-MVP, and I'm telling you, I feel it. I'm going JJ, man. I don't know why.
I don't either.
I feel like we always talk about it. That next year for wide receivers and quarterbacks is the big jump. That sophomore year where it may click. And I think for JJ, listen, the kid went to Stanford. He had a lot of the mental process. And I think with the offensive mindset now that we're going to have with the play calling and the scheme, is going to dumb it down for him and allow him just to take it over. So if healthy, I truly believe we can have that look where I can see JJ going for 900 or 1,000 yards and maybe 7 or 8 touchdowns. Something that we haven't seen in a while because no wide receiver has really given us that. And we've already seen it with Rieger. I will go on record right now. There may be plays on Sunday right now where we talk about where there's not going to be Deshaun Jackson on the field. Well, your wide receivers on the field are going to be Rieger on the outside at the X. You got JJ at the wide. You're going to have either Hightower, Watkins, or Ward in the slot or the Z, maybe in the 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver set. My bold prediction: if Carson stays healthy, when Carson stays healthy, he'll be in the top 2 for the MVP voting this year. I think your top 2 for the MVPs this year are both going to be quarterbacks coming out of the NFC East. And I think it can go one.
I don't disagree with you, and I think that whichever one wins the division will win the MVP.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I feel like we hear with the Cowboys all the time, the talent. With the Eagles, you don't even as we sit here, I don't know what type of offense you're going to see on Sunday. There's sprinkles from every type of scheme and system. Chucks is off camera right now, but he knows his boy Scagarello. He was under his voice. He was under Shanahan. If you take some of that, you sprinkle in what Doug does, and I will say this: Doug has the biggest set of a head coach I've ever seen. You don't know what you're going to get when you have a guy like that. You can't predict. You can't predict that. So it could be in a position to where we can put up. Everybody's not talking about it because guess what? We don't have all the talent, top tier talent. But listen, man, we're not too bad. You got Miles Sanders on the cusp of being the top 5 running back in the league. You got Carson Wentz on the cusp of being, in my eyes, already a top 5 quarterback, maybe top 3. You got Zach Ertz. He solidified as the third best tight end in the league. So when you look at these skill positions for this offense, it's key to the offensive line. But hey, man, rollouts, bootlegs, there's ways to get around that. And if you got talent, you got speed, you can get time. That field opened up like Jordan said in Game 1 against the Blazers. It's a big old bucket. That's all. Carson be out there throwing darts.
Yeah,
that's my prediction, and my offensive co-MVP.
I like it. I like it.
So I'm normally negative, but you're making me want to run through a wall right now for the Eagles. I'm feeling real inspired about our team right now.
I'll say this, Pete. I don't know that I see 1,000 yards out of JJ this year. I'm not saying it's impossible because anything's possible, but I think for me, if we can get production year in and year out from JJ of 650 to 800 yards and 4 or 5 or I'd say 5 or 6 TDs, to me that warrants that pick right away because I don't think he's ever going to be our number 1 guy. We don't need him to be. But I think he could be a better version of what Jordan Matthews was. I think Jordan Matthews started to feel the pressure when number 1 label was put on him. I don't think that's ever going to be on JJ. But right. I think if you take that role and you put a guy in the proper role as a wide receiver 2 or 3 on this football team, I think JJ will flourish. I think you could get, if I was to give you a number now, I'm going to say 720 yards receiving and 5 TDs from him this year, which is a massive improvement over last year. And that alone makes a major contribution to this football team.
For sure. So, and real quick, to what Tori said, we've all shown. I cannot stress to people enough. I don't know how many people we got watching. I don't know the numbers. I know it's people checking in. The growth for A2D in this pandemic era has been crazy. I know we don't have people all watching from our area. One thing about this area, Philly gets a bad rep the fans. We are fucking underdogs. When we are underdogs, when nobody believes in us, that's when we play our best. And Doug Peterson has shown you the resiliency when people go down left and right. This team has been in the fucking playoffs the last 3 years. One play away, a drop pass for Ashawn Jeffrey for going back to the NFC Championship game, to going back to the Super Bowl, because I sure as hell would have think they would have beat the LA Rams that year again. And a cheap shot away, who knows what happens last year if Carson plays the whole game. We seen McCown was out there on one leg and almost came back and won the game.
We win that game.
We were winning that game, yeah.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So
we were winning that game.
I tell the fans, I tell Hollow Cowboy, you keep talking shit. Jesse Meza, I know you ain't even been in here, but I remember your name. Y'all stick out like cockroaches. Go ahead and doubt us. Because the doubting shit that y'all been doing has been working for y'all really, really well. It's real cute.
Listen. They have a quarterback that hasn't even had injury issues, and they haven't won shit with a talented football team for the last 25 years.
Yeah. Talented and healthy.
They've been going through an incredible drought. So that's the typical cockroach stuff. I welcome it. I love when Harlem Cowboy drops in. They could get blown out by 40 points and we win by 35, and he'll still come in and tell us, and he'll still come in and do the same stuff. I welcome you back every year, Harlem. We love Harlem though. He's our favorite.
We love to beat you.
We welcome you back, Harlem. It's good to see you. But that's how you know football season's kicking off, when Harlem Cowboys starts jumping in the chat.
Yeah, Pete, to your point, it's everyone is picking the Cowboys to win the division and go far. Dak is MVP, and me years ago, that would have pissed me off. But right now, how I am, let them hype them up. Like I
Yep.
I welcome them. Let them hype the Cowboys up, set the bar high for them and everything. Give them no excuse because, like you said, Chrome, how many years has it been where they've won nothing? And how many of those years have they gone into the season hyped up with all like people saying, "Oh, they have this much talent. They blah 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 blah."
Every year,
like it's nothing new. They do it every year, and so hey, you want to hype them up, you want to pick them as favorites, go ahead, because when they choke and they either miss the playoffs or one and done in the playoffs, it's going to make it that much greater when that happens.
Listen, they have a very talented football team, and they should be excited just as we are. And if they want to come on to an Eagles show because they think that they're cool to come on and troll, we welcome it. We don't care. You get real talk here, and they know that they get real talk here. We give credit where it's due. I always back. I think Dak gets a bad rap. I think Dak has had 2 really, really good years. We literally just had Pete say that the top 2 MVP candidates, the league MVP candidates, are going to be in the NFC East, and we said it's going to be whoever wins. So we have no issue with giving credit where it's due. It's the other way around, and I welcome it. Come on in, do what you always do. Yeah, the bar is always high for you guys, and you still don't ever do anything. And it is what it is. It must suck to have a bar that's high and never, ever be able to touch it.
And
that being said,
personally, because Dak is probably the most likable Cowboy ever. And then what Skip did to him recently.
Kind of, yeah.
That's even worse. You see what I'm saying?
That's a disgrace.
It's just bad. Can't hear you, Chuck. Did you turn your mute off?
Chuck, you're on mute.
Sorry, baby was crying. Forgot to mute. But I would say, Pete, I disagree with that. There are a bunch of Cowboys I liked more than
modern era. I'm talking about right now.
Yeah.
Like
I mean right now.
Pete's probably right. It's probably him and Jason Witten are probably the 2 most likable guys, if you want to call any of them likable for us.
Yeah.
I thought that was a disgrace what was said today, in terms of, his brother passed away, suicide, right?
Yeah.
Or no? Yeah.
Suicide.
And
Suicide.
he was suffering from a lot of depression and anxiety, and Skip basically said that that's a poor reflection on him as a quarterback and a leader on his football team. Skip, get your head out of your ass, bro. And today, I think it's like Mental Health Awareness Day too. What a day to open your mouth and make a stupid statement like that.
Like,
and let me tell you,
take action, man.
Let me tell you, man, as somebody who I've been very open about, I've talked it on here. I've had my own issue with depression and stuff like that, anxiety over the years, and has suffered from that stuff at different points in my life. I was offended by it. I think he's a dumbass, and I think that I agree. I think that there needs to be a reprimand there, or maybe not a reprimand, because you know what? People want to say what they want. They want to expose themselves as clowns. That's fine, but honestly, Dak's probably going to take the high road and not really address it. But I would encourage Dak to come out, make a strong statement, denounce him, and basically expose him for the fool that he is, and that he's full of shit. And that this is what hot take media does. This is the kind of garbage that you get from hot take media.
Absolutely.
And why idiots like him and Colin Cowherd, who sometimes we love him, sometimes we hate him. There's no in between. But this is why those kind of idiots who make these stupid remarks, the Angelo Cataldi's of the world, who doesn't know a goddamn thing, he doesn't know his thumb from his ass, but supposedly he's a sports guy who's been on the air for so many years. They don't know shit. And this is the kind of remarks. He's the same guy who encouraged people to throw batteries at a guy.
Yeah.
These guys need to start being called out to the floor and exposed by the athletes and by all these other platforms. I got no problem doing it.
Yeah.
And like you said about the depression and anxiety, like I'm kind of new to this, but I'm pretty open in my general life about suffering from those type of things too. And a lot of people do, not everyone, of course, but what everyone does deal with is grief. So even if you didn't have depression and anxiety, it's still grief. Everyone loses someone, and there's no roadmap to grief. My last job, I used to be a therapist, so I know a little bit about this, but there's no roadmap to grief, and everyone deals with that differently. And the fact that, for Dak to be called, what did he say? He wasn't a leader or whatnot. It's just terrible. Like, this is something that Skip and everyone else on earth has dealt with and will deal with. And like, you shouldn't be shaming mental health. You shouldn't be shaming grief.
Right.
And that's like one of the things where you say it's bigger than football. For us to be sitting here defending Dak Prescott is painful to me, but I will gladly do it for that.
I mean, and honestly, at this point, for this instance, it's not that painful for me to do, because I think everybody needs someone to stand up and call it for what it is. And the fact, guys, that he openly said, if people want to crucify me for, tells me it was a calculated comment that he knew was going to get a reaction. And that's where my issue is even worse. It's not even like he was just a dope who made a stupid comment. It was clearly a calculated comment. He knew that this was going to be something they were going to talk about. And he knew that coming in, he had to put a precursor out there because he was gonna take this stance. That is an issue for me. That's somebody who will say anything to get a click or review and will absolutely destroy or alienate a segment of people, a large segment of people in this case, because of it.
Yeah, and I hate, what else, like, someone else brought up the fact that if this was discussed, because, they have pre-show meetings, they talk about the topics and stuff like that. If FS1 and the producers gave the okay to this,
yes,
they are just as culpable. And if not, something has to be done in terms of why wasn't it talked about pre-show meeting? What's going on? Like, how did this fall through the cracks? Because this is, like you all said, this is not a joke. This is serious stuff. I'm sure we all. What's really a shame is that I'm sure all of us have in some way dealt or know someone that has dealt with depression or, like you said, Tori, great point, grief of a close one. I mean, this isn't like a distant relative, even though like that's still grief. This was his brother. Like, imagine your sibling died and then someone's going to say, oh, you got to, saying that you dealt with it a certain way is bad or reflection.
His older brother. This is his big bro.
Yeah.
Like, this is his big bro.
And
after
then,
already losing his mom too. Like, come on, man.
And then to suicide, it just adds another layer to it of the way it happened,
Especially when they don't suicide. When somebody's suicidal, truly suicidal, in most cases, and maybe Tori can attest, you don't know. And the shock of why can't we talk? What could I have said? All these things he's asking himself, what could he have done differently while trying to prepare for a season? Also, on top of not being fucking paid the way he should be paid. God, I cannot believe I'm coming to the carpet for this guy. You know what I mean? As a Cowboys, but still,
Pete, it's okay. I've never had a problem coming to the carpet and backing up this dude.
So, and also to Chuck's point, like, somebody had to know, and TA said it in the chat, clickbait, either clickbait or trolling. It's too much of a coincidence you said it on this day when it's Mental Health Awareness Day, or something to coincide with that. Maybe it might be a week, or it was yesterday, or maybe tomorrow. But to be that close to it and you say something like this, you the kind of reaction we're going to get. I mean, the one thing about 2020 has shown us, whether right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever side of the argument you're on, the first perception is everything. Perception is everything. That first initial reaction to whatever you say, that's going to go in the media. And it's whatever opposite side of the coin you were on, it's going to take something drastic for you to come back from that. I don't know how he goes on tomorrow. I don't know how Shannon can sit across from him.
I mean, I think that Shannon Sharp handled it, I guess, as good as he could at that particular moment. I wish he would have stood up a little bit more in terms of reacting to it. But I mean, I'm sure my guess is he probably knew it was a pretty big deal right then and didn't want to encourage it to continue to go on. So anyway, I want to move on from it because, I think we kind of covered, the bases on it. But I do want to say here, so Bill Middlebrook, one of our regular viewers, said, I suffered from it for years. Tom knows about it. I'll be honest, I'm on Xanax and I've been hospitalized over it. Nobody will never understand it. if they don't truly have it. Hashtag real talk. So what I'm just going to say here, and we're going to tie it up in a bow with this, and we're going to move on, is it is Mental Health Awareness Day. We aren't clowns like some of these idiots out here. And I just want to say, for anybody that's out there, reach out and talk to somebody. But, it's okay. It is okay. We all need people to talk to. We all need support. And don't be afraid to talk to someone or feel like you're any different, because you're not. I've had a lot of experiences since I've been very open and vocal about it over the last year, where a lot of people have reached out to me privately and said, you don't seem like the person to go through that kind of stuff. But it means a lot to me that you would speak on it. So I like to, I'm not anything major on a platform, but we do have a platform here. And we've talked about a lot of major issues in the world, right? That's going on. This is an ongoing issue that's been going on forever. I just want people to know that there are outlets for you to talk to people, and that, we here, all of us here on this show and beyond this show at this network, we all support you. And don't ever be afraid to be who you are, and don't ever feel like, you have to feel like any less, because you're not. And you have people there to support you. So with that, I'd like to move on from it. And we're going to get back to some of our predictions, because we're going to have to probably run through a few of them, because we're running a little tight on time. Who did not give I think we left off with Pete. Tori, did you give us your offensive MVP?
No. So I wish I could turn around like Chuck's did, but I'm on a bed and not a swivel chair. But wait, yeah. So
Carson, there we go. Number 11.
Number 11, yes. Just because I love the man. I feel like he deserves this. After all the injury talk, the Super Bowl win for Nick Foles, why not? I feel like last year he was getting back on track. This year, I think it's going to be 100% on track. We have a little bit more weapons than we did last year. It's a little bit more his team. I feel like all the guys there he trusts. And I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's really going to be his year, and I'm looking forward to seeing him prove all the haters wrong.
Amen. Amen to that.
We had a funny comment in here, though. I have to get this out.
That's all I got.
Bobby Eagles says it's still, quote, fuck the Cowboys, Harlem. Don't get it twisted with all the soft Dallas talk. He ain't wrong.
I like this one.
He ain't wrong. I mean, you guys pretty much, mine was also Carson Wentz. I think to sit here and say
I saw that. I like that.
To agree with the poll question with Carson, and then to also have, to put out there that he needs to play 16 games for this team to succeed. It's impossible for me to not say Carson Wentz is going to be the offensive MVP of this team. If I was to give an honorable mention, I'm going to go. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with Greg Ward. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to go with Greg Ward, because I'm going to transition this into our Eagles bold predictions. So I came up with 3. I don't know how many you guys came up with, or if you just came up with the one. I have 3. But with one of those, if I'm going to go outside of Carson, I'm going to go Greg Ward, because I am going to predict that Greg Ward is going to lead this team in TD receptions this year. I believe that Greg Ward will get 8 TD receptions this year in wide receivers. Let me rephrase that, because someone like Zach Ertz might surpass that. But I'm going to say, in terms of the wide receiving core on this football team, he will lead the wide receivers in receiving TDs this year.
Okay.
My second bold prediction, Derek Barnett will be a top 10 defensive end in the league this year.
Okay.
And my third bold prediction is that the Philadelphia Eagles will sweep the NFC East this season.
Ooh. All of it.
They will win every game against an NFC East competitor this year, and that will lead them to a division title. I think they have a lot of tough games outside of the division this year, so I think outside of this division, they're going to have a tough time.
It's up to you.
Particularly in stadiums that are going to allow fans to where there is an actual home field advantage on the road. However,
Cowboys.
I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles will sweep. See, the Cowboys I look at as an advantage, though, because I think this team will get up on the road with Cowboy fans giving them shit. I really do. But I'm telling you, there he is, little goat, Chucks. Big Dad chiming in.
Burt time.
But yeah. Yep. Derek Barnett will lead the team in sacks. Ryan, I agree. I said that earlier, and I totally agree with that. So, anybody who wants to go, or does anyone want to respond to those before we move on?
Yeah, the Ward one shocks me, but I could see it. I mean, Aguilar, if he's playing the slot, people forget how many touchdown passes Aguilar may have actually caught and also dropped in the slot position, and how they definitely work in the red zone. They like to go to the slot a lot. So I can definitely get to that. The sweep in the NFC East, the one in Dallas is always going to be hard.
Yeah,
that's the one. 5-1, I could take it. 4-2, I could take it. No losing record. I definitely don't want 500. But hey, I won't begrudge 6-0. My two bowl prediction is Doug Peterson to finish in the top 3 for Coach of the Year. I want by the end of this season, I need National to put some respect on my coach's name. He doesn't get the credit he deserves.
It's wild, isn't it?
Crazy.
I don't get. Usually, by the time you win a Super Bowl, you can have a couple of losing seasons after, like John Gruden did, and you still talk to high regard. This guy won a Super Bowl, beat arguably the greatest coach of all time, and then went back to the playoffs 2 more years in a row. Nothing. He doesn't. And this one thing about this team, he needs an ascension. You solidify him. We're gonna sign JT, but sign DP. Sign DP now, because I don't want to have to worry about him and his. I don't want to get to 2 years left. Definitely want to get to 1 year left. Just sign him and get it over with. My second and final bold prediction, then you guys can comment on this. Out of all the rookie wide receivers taken in the first round, Jalen Mills will have the best season.
I'd love it, but I don't.
That's tough.
I think that Judy's gonna. I think that Judy or CeeDee Lamb are going to have a lot to say about that, but I don't. I love it. I could see it. In terms of your Doug bold prediction, I love it. My issue with guys. So I look at Doug and I almost feel a lot of like when Mike Tomlin stepped in with the Steelers. But the big difference for me, and why, again, I'm not saying Mike Tomlin is not a good head coach, but I think he's incredibly overrated. Is that year after year, the amount of talent on that football team, play up and play down to people, is insane. As opposed to Doug, who has since becoming a head coach, has won a Super Bowl, and despite adversity, has continued to make the playoffs and win games with backup quarterbacks, with with practice squad wide receivers last year to make that run to get into the playoffs last year. He has continued to coach this team and find ways to win. And he still doesn't get the respect that I think a coach like a Mike Tomlin or a Pete Carroll get. And that's an issue for me because I think Doug's proven his stripes at that. He's earned his stripes at this point. And so I agree with you, Pete. And I think that this could very well be the year that Doug hits that national radar in terms of head coaching.
Mm-hmm. Which he should have already hit.
Agreed. Go ahead, Chucks. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Pete.
Now let Chucks go before Grayson wakes up.
Chucks, you got any bold predictions for us for
Philadelphia? Yeah. I mean, I already said my Miles one. It's funny that you said Barnett's going to lead the team in sacks because I was going to say Sweat's going to lead the team in sacks. However, I don't think like any single one of our defensive linemen is going to have, maybe I'll say like 8's the max. I think our O-line altogether is going to really compile a lot of sacks as a unit. I don't think there's one guy's going to get double digits, but if someone's going to lead the team in sacks, it's going to me, it's going to be Sweat as my bold prediction. And then my last one, Pete, to rally off of your Reagor prediction, I'm going to say that Reagor is going to have the most yards from scrimmage than any rookie wide receiver. So I say not from scrimmage as in both receiving and rushing because I think we are going to use him a lot on like jet sweeps and jet motions, orbit motions, give him the ball on handoff, stuff like that. So I think he's going to have a fair amount of rushing yards too. So I think yards from scrimmage wise, he's going to lead all rookie wide receivers in the that'll probably be my bold prediction. I mean, none of my predictions are that like outlandish, but I kind of just went the Pete route and tried to think of one on the top of my head.
Boy, I hope so. I hope so, Chucks, that those come true. Tori, we got any predictions for us?
So I thought we were doing league-wide for bold predictions.
Well, we are. We're
but-
going to actually move to that next. If you don't have any more
Okay.
Eagles ones, because I know you gave one earlier, you could kick us
Yeah.
off. Let's go into the league-wide predictions. Go ahead.
And I
So,
don't know why,
real
but for me,
quick-
go ahead.
Let me ask this real quick, guys. So we'll say this. And a simple yes or no. Do the Philadelphia Eagles win the division this year?
Yes.
Cool. Everybody says yes. I agree. I think it's a race to 10. I think the Eagles get it done. All right. So let's move on to our quick for national. We covered all the divisions a few weeks ago, so I don't think we need to do that. So what we're going to give you guys now, we're going to have 3 bold predictions for the league, and then we're going to give you our conference championship predictions and our Super Bowl predictions to wrap up the show. So Tori, kick us off. What are your bold predictions for the league?
So for me this season, what stands out to me is Cam Newton in New England and whatever's going on in Tampa Bay outside of us. And kind of, I guess, what Kansas City will do again. So my predictions are kind of based on that. I'm a huge fan of Cam Newton also for many years. So my prediction is a big Cam Newton comeback in New England. Love to see it as long as it doesn't affect anything having to do with us. My other one is Tampa Bay stinks.
Okay.
So we'll see how that goes.
I may have
and
one
then-
that's similar to that.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like they're real hyped up. And I would just love to see them fail. So looking forward to their failure and Patriots success. That's so hard to say.
Yeah.
And then my other one would be the Patriots winning their division.
Okay.
Okay.
I would say that's a bold prediction because I think they stink this year.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, that's going with the Cam comeback. So that's kind of backing that up.
So I'm going to react to yours when I give my bold predictions because some of mine tie into yours. So I'm going to hold that back. Pete, do you have anything to react to that before you give yours?
A lot of Patriots love there. I mean, I like Cam a lot. I'm not a fan of his fashion or the way he tips. And I have a family member who's had firsthand experience with that. Everything that you think Cam is from outside, I wouldn't say you judge a book by cover, but you can definitely paint a very good picture. But that's all, really. So
you sound like
So
my
let's
mom.
get-
She always judges people on their tips. She works in the ballparks.
it just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, if a person, it's 15 to 20%. That's just
Especially if you're rich.
Yes. Especially if you're not living check to check.
Yeah.
And you can afford to dress like the Mountie from WWE back in 1992. Then you can do that. Like, you know what I mean? You should be able to tip. So
That kills me to hear that.
yeah. So league-wide bold predictions for me. I have two. Chrome may know one. My second is my main one. This train that everybody thinks that the Saints are on. Listen, dogs. Chrome, you know my thoughts about their quarterback. It's false prophet, man. False prophet. Drew Brees, false prophet. He's just. I don't get it. Sean Payton I like him, but now he's getting a little bit too cocky. I just want to see the Saints. The Saints will not. They will not make it to the NFC Championship game again this year. I'd be shocked if they may not. You know, fuck it. Saints will make the playoffs. There you go. I said it.
You know what, Pete?
I like that one.
It is not one of mine, but it was on my original list that the Saints will miss the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So I am right with you, buddy. I think it's an overhyped team.
Yeah.
I think they're going to have quarterback issues this year too. I don't think Drew Brees makes it through the year,
No.
and I think that they're going to have some. They're going to have some issues at the quarterback position this year.
Okay. Don is a very bold prediction, sir. I would love to welcome it because I would take Matt Patricia versus Doug Peterson 7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
There you go. Wow.
My second bold prediction, and I'll leave it here. I love this guy as a coach. I think they got it right. I don't know how it's going to happen, but the Dolphins will make the playoffs with Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback.
There you go. I like it, Pete. I might have one that ties in with yours, Pete. We're gonna see. I'll react to that when I get to mine. I don't know where Chuck's is, so maybe I should just go with mine. So
yeah.
All right, guys. My bold predictions. Piggybacking off of Torrey's, Tampa Bay will not make the playoffs this year. I'm getting a lot of dream team vibes with this. There's way too much hype. And I think that's a lot of talent on that team, but it's a lot of talent that you have to figure out how to mesh together. A lot of egos on that football team. I do think that Mike Evans will lead the league in receiving touchdowns out of wide receivers. So I think that Mike Evans, although he will have an incredibly monster year, I think that team will not. Tom said, I'll put 500 hoagies on that not happening.
He's always betting hoagies.
My second bold prediction, the Bengals will finish with at least a 500 record this year. I think that Joe Burrow is going to have a really strong rookie campaign this year. I think Joe Mixon has a good year. I like the couple pieces they have on the wide receiving. Their defense is questionable, but I think that they're going to get into some games where they're going to be able to sling it out and outscore some teams. I'm going to predict that they finish at least 500 this year. And I would even take it a step further with that. I don't think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make the playoffs this year. And my third bold prediction here, boys, not only are the Miami Dolphins going to make the playoffs, they will win a playoff game this year. Miami will win a playoff game this year, and I don't care if it's Tua or Ryan Fitzmagic. That's right. That's right, Big Mama. That's right. You heard it right. Miami Dolphins with Brian Flores at the helm this year will make the playoffs, and they will win a playoff game. So mark it down. Whatever it is, a minute 55, 56, they will win. Chucks, do you have any bold league predictions before we do our championship and Super Bowl predictions?
I don't. Not for league wide, no.
Okay. All right. So then, Chucks, do you have a AFC championship game prediction?
AFC, I think it's going to be oh God. I keep flopping back and forth. I'm going to talk myself through a decision here.
So you know what? Just do them both. Give us all of your championship games up to the Super Bowl and who you think is going to win the Super Bowl.
So, like, for the final two AFC teams, I do think it's going to be between the Ravens and the Chiefs. I know it's like it's chalk, but I think the Ravens and Chiefs are too stacked, and I think I actually like the Chiefs roster more this year than I did last year. And I think with the pressure off for Andy Reid, they're going to play a lot more loose. So it's hard not to like them. It's a long season; anything can happen, I know. But right now, to me, it's Chiefs and Ravens, and then for the NFC side, I think it's going to come down between the Saints and I'm going to say the Eagles. I think the Saints and the Eagles are going to meet in the championship game.
Who do you have winning those games and facing off in the Super Bowl?
I hate to say, but I think the Saints are too stacked. I think the Saints would beat out the Eagles in the NFC Championship, and I hate saying that. I hate the Saints, but I can't be a homer too much. I think they're too talented if they stay healthy. And then on the other side, I'm gonna go ahead and say the Chiefs make it back. I think it's Chiefs Saints in the Super Bowl.
And who wins?
I think the Chiefs repeat.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tough to repeat in this league, but very possible.
It is, but that roster, that team, my predictions suck anyway. Though every year I make horrible predictions, so I won't even.
I picked the Chiefs last year to win.
What's up?
Not to toot my own horn, I picked the Chiefs last year to win. So
there you go.
Nice. So
Tori,
anything could happen, but we'll see. That's
Tori. Who do you got in the championship games, Super Bowl, and who wins?
So AFC championship game, I have Kansas City and Baltimore. NFC, I got Seattle and Philly. Then I got Super Bowl matchup will be Seattle versus Baltimore, with Seattle winning.
Okay.
I like Seattle. I do like Seattle.
Pete, what do you got?
All right, so for AFC, this is going to shock you. I got Kansas City
Dolphins?
versus no
Versus Miami?
Chiefs versus Colts.
Okay.
Ooh, Colts.
I think Phillip Rivers there, best offensive line he's ever been behind. He's going to halftime. Has Frank Reich, who is familiar with, because remember when Frank Reich came here, he was in San Diego at the time as their OC. Phillip Rivers is putting up stats. The defense, I think, is more balanced now. They get is it Malik Hooker? They get back. They get back at free safety. You already have Darius Leonard. The defense does just enough. And, I mean, that offensive line, now you got Marlon Mack and you got Jonathan Taylor, Paris Campbell coming back, and you got MPJ being slept on a lot. Michael Pittman Jr. being slept on a lot there. And Frank Wright, we can already see how he can put offensive game plans together. Then they can do just enough. Then they're going to surprise some teams. In the NFC, I got Eagles Seahawks too. Eagles going over. This is Chrome. You know, this is niche night, so I would be remiss if I didn't put any wrestling talk in it. This is that storyline that we've been watching for a year, and it's finally payoff time. Russell, Seahawks, it's time to put your boys over. It's time to put the Eagles over. Let's go. Eagles, Colts in the Super Bowl. I just need Carson to get his. I just need Carson to get his ring, his own ring, so everybody can shut up and say, Foles, give me your own ring, not taking anything away from Nick. But the sooner Carson can get...
Hate it. So you have the Eagles winning the bowl this year, win the chip?
Man, hey, if the offensive line hold up, I'm trying to tell y'all, you don't know what this offense is going to look like.
Yeah.
Rager. Speed.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to give you guys mine. I don't think Kansas City gets back to the championship game this year. I'm going with Baltimore and Buffalo. And in the NFC, I'm going Philadelphia Eagles and the Seattle Seahawks as well. For my Super Bowl, unfortunately, I think we fall short. I do think we're going to get Baltimore and Seattle, and I think that Lamar gets his chip this year. I think that Baltimore wins the Super Bowl. I just have a feeling about this team. I think that they're ready to take that next level, that next step, and I think that Lamar is going to establish himself, as pretty damn close to neck and neck with Pat Mahomes. So, yeah, I got Seahawks.
So we got the same Super Bowl matchup, but different winners.
Correct. But that is my, I guess, fourth bold prediction is that Kansas City falls short of the championship game and Buffalo gets in this year.
Okay.
Wow.
Guys, this was a lot of fun. I hope that you guys enjoyed your time. Thank you to everybody who watched us here, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, or if you're checking us out on a replay on podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or iTunes, whatever you call it, Google Play, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud. Guys, check us out and follow us on all that stuff. Get all your A2D content. Follow us on Instagram. That's right. Follow us, rate us, like us. Hey, set your alerts so you guys are able to know when all of our A2D shows go live. Tomorrow, another Eagles preview show with Jimmy and Jake for On the Road to Victory. So make sure you guys are checking them out. Saturday, whole big slate of shows, kicking it stateside, the weekly roundup in this very ring. Sunday, you'll have Agree to Disagree. Monday, the Sports Hounds. Tuesday, we come back as we recap week 1 of the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington football team. That's weird. We're going to recap week 1. And obviously on Wednesday, the Fix and AM and the PM combine again for the Fix and the PM. They'll be going through, week 1 of the play. It's going to be a very heavy football week, I believe, next week. And obviously on Thursday, we're back, Hockey Happy Hour, preceded by Lazy Booking. hoping, fingers crossed, that this week or next week we may have a special guest. If that's the case, we'll announce and let you guys know for Lazy Booking. But stay tuned. In about 17 minutes from now, you're going to have the Hockey Happy Hour recapping a Flyers hockey season that ended in heartbreak, but a lot of encouraging things to take out of it. I want to thank Tori for joining us tonight. Pete and Chucks, Grayson making his debut here. Love that. There he is, that handsome little devil.
He says good night.
Thanks to Grayson. Thanks for Mary for letting you hop on back with us. We appreciate it. Ryan Brodo for producing a great show. For all you guys who chimed in with your comments, with your shares and everything, we love you and appreciate you. And thank you to our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. Check him out, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Michael Ambrose and Am Buck Services. You can find the phone number in the comment section or check them out on the web, ambuckservices.com. Let them know we sent you. Get 20% off there. Philly Drinkers, the new fall line, guys. It's coming out. PhillyDrinkers.com/A2D Radio. Hey, guess what? We talked a lot about the Philadelphia Quarterback Factory here. You want to get the Philly QB Factory shirt? You get 25% off. Use the promo code A2D. So check that out, as well as PlayQB54.com. For myself, for Chucks, for Pete, for Tori, for Ryan, and everybody here at A2D Radio, football's back. Enjoy it. Enjoy the rest of this game. The second half, or the first half, is winding down. 14-7, Kansas City over the Texans. And hey, guys, let's just go or fly Eagles, fly, guys. Let's get a friggin' victory and get it off on the right foot.
Go Birds.
Enjoy the season for as long as it lasts. We don't know, but we got football this week, so enjoy it.
That's right. Enjoy it. Enjoy it, guys. Stay safe and have a good night. Take care.